Welcome to A Woman's Brew, where women talk about beer. Today, we're kicking off our adventures into lager by checking out Czech Pils. I'm Joanne and this is Tori.
Hello, hello.
And we're two beer-loving women on a mission to get more people drinking and talking about great beer. Come join us. These intros are getting better.
It would have been a missed opportunity if I didn't.
Punning.
Yeah. Somebody I know went to somewhere on that side of the world. I don't remember specifically which place they went to for work, and their out of office was like, "Check my clock. I'm gonna be out of office," or something like that. And I was like, "That is brilliant. I love that."
Stolen.
Yeah, it was so great. But yeah, I just thought like it's a missed opportunity if I don't take that. I feel like people would have been disappointed in me if I didn't pick the low hanging fruit there.
Okay,
so.
fine.
But yeah, no. So we kind of thought like, I think we've potentially done sort of like an overall bit on lagers, but we never really sort of broke it down. And there's so many different types of lagers that we just thought, why don't we?
Yeah.
Why don't we break it down?
People just go, I don't like lager, but actually there's a world of lager out there. So. And
alternatively, we were talking about this a minute ago. Alternatively, when I've worked behind the bar at festivals or events, and somebody has gone, "Do you have a lager on?" And then you're like, "Oh yeah, I've got this Pilsner," and they're like, "Well, but I want a lager," and you're like, "Yeah, I've got a Pilsner."
Got a Pilsner.
Like, I guess that'll do, and you're like, "Yeah,
sure will."
Absolutely will.
We're here to help you with your lager education. If you're not quite round at that point in your craft beer cycle, because we know this is how it works, right? You drink crap lager when you're grown up, and then you get into real beer, and then you go, I don't like lager. You start drinking IPAs and sours and whatever else, and then you come back round and you go, I just really want a lager. And then you know you've come the full craft beer circle when you come back to the lagers.
It's absolutely true. And again, no like judgment if you are
no judgment.
Like, I want lager and someone says Pilsner, and then they're like, sure. But I do think it's really funny of some of the attitudes I've got from people when they've asked for a lager. Like the bewilderment is the explanation I'd give when someone's asked for a lager, and I've gone, oh, yeah, we've got this or this, and they're like, So right. Yeah, hopefully we thought it would be really useful to start kind of diving into some of these.
We're going to break down that umbrella term, and we're going to start with the Czech Pilsner. That's one of my faves when we're talking about lagers.
I mean, before we actually drink the beer, I just wanted to be like really clear as well with our t-shirts. I'm wearing my Brew t-shirt, which shows the brewing process.
Because Brew make excellent lagers, and I've got my Budvar t-shirt on.
Do I have a lager theme? Do I have a lager theme t-shirt? And I was like, I actually do.
Do you know what? I nearly wore that one. I nearly wore it. We would have been twinning as per usual, but I was just
I know exactly why you've picked the Budvar one though, because I mean, should we make it very clear why you've picked the Budvar?
Because we're gonna drink a Budvar, and I've also got my mini Budvar glass.
I've got a big boy.
You got your big one. You got the big boy. I got the mini one.
I don't think I'm actually going to drink out of it.
You're not going to drink out of it?
Oh, I mean, I can do, but I kind of feel like it's a really big...
They are a bit like... I mean, this is the thing about lager, right? It is meant...
as well, listen.
Yeah, they're good. They're good quality. I can't ever guarantee that they're beer clean because of the ridges in them.
Look at that.
I know it's got the engraved in the bottom is the logo that's on the cap of Budvar, which is like 3 towers and the griffin
turrets,
lion in the middle. They've got ridges around them, and they can be a real pain to get beer clean at home, everybody. So don't be upset if your Budvar glass isn't beer clean, because it is very difficult to get clean.
I mean, mine just might be a bit dusty. I guess the people's choice, and the people being you. Shall I drink out of it, or shall I not drink out of it?
I bought my mini one. I'm not going to fill it all the way up.
All right, I'll drink out of it.
But this is the thing about lager, right? Lager is literally designed to be drunk in quantity. Like, the higher ABV ones, maybe not so much. because you'll fall over. But they are meant to be drunk in quantity because they're crispy boys.
This glass definitely does quantity. It is sturdy. I can drink out of it. I can knock someone out with it. There's lots of like great uses for it, and I love that it's got like the logo quite on it.
Conversation about the Budvar glasses. They're good and solid.
They are very solid. I feel
they are
like
mugs.
If I dropped it, it probably wouldn't even break.
For those listening, if you haven't seen one of these, they have a handle and they kind of look like a mug, but they got ridges around the bottom.
Love it. I'll drink out of it, but I feel like they are meant to, like you said, they're meant to be drinking in greater quantities, which isn't normally what you do when you're recording a podcast.
It is not. I mean, not when we're recording.
Especially when you want to sort of keep it to the side and try amongst all the other ones.
Yeah.
But
yeah, be okay. Be all right. All right. So we're going to crack into this Budvar Czech Pilsner. On the label, it says the original Czech lager. Don't get confused because it does say Budweiser Budvar. Don't get confused. This is not like the Budweiser from the US. It's different.
It is funny. Like I saw some articles as well, being like, you know, the top Czech Pilsners. You've got like Pilsner Urquell. You've got, it said Budweiser Budvar, and then in brackets it said not to be confused with American Budweiser.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, I guess you probably do have to, especially because to be fair as well, the writing is red.
Yeah.
And so like you probably
similar
some
colours.
people probably go like, oh, maybe it's just like a vintagey looking version of that. It's not.
No.
It is nothing like. It doesn't taste anything like American Budweiser.
It is also in a green glass bottle, which doesn't afford it the best protection from UV rays. You just got to drink it quick.
I stored mine in a dark fridge.
Yeah, mine was in a dark fridge in a cardboard box as well for a bit. Keep those UV rays away from your green glass because it will do bad things to your beer. All right, we're going to pour this, and then we're going to talk about the tasting notes of a Czech Pilsner.
I'm just going to probably just dump it all in, maybe.
You're just going to dump it? Yeah, mine is not beer clean. Apologies, folks.
Mine is not too bad, actually. I mean, the side that's facing you is bad, so I'll just turn it around.
The thing I always like about a Budvar is a nice, thick, foamy head. I've not got one today. I've only got a small one.
Mine's alright.
It's like a finger's worth. You kind of want two fingers at least, really. But it has got a lovely, rocky, white, foamy head on there. Oh, get that bready.
So much.
That bready
I've
malt.
literally put the whole...
Have you put the whole bottle in?
500ml bottle in.
I've still got about 200ml in the bottle of mine. Lots of nice carbonation bubbles. It's a gorgeous gold, bright and clear. Smells crispy. I'm excited.
Right.
So what should your Czech Pilsner actually look and taste like?
I feel like this is going to be cumbersome.
She says, having a sip. I know. This is the thing, though. Like,
for me, it's going to be cumbersome.
They're quite
it's
heavy.
A big glass, and I've got quite small hands.
Yeah, you've got the big glass as well. So
I need two hands to sip it as well. It's so pathetic. I look like Donald Trump drinking water.
Watch the video for that one, everybody.
I look like the Kermit meme where I'm like,
that's none of my business.
That's not my business, though.
Right, so according to BJCP, your Czech Pilsner in appearance should be straw to gold in colour. Yeah, this bad boy is nice and gold.
Indeed.
Very clear clarity, although some modern versions are referred to as yeasted and maybe slightly cloudy.
Oh, I don't like that description.
And it should have it should have a dense white head that's long lasting.
It's not long.
Ours are not.
That could be my glass, maybe.
It could be the glass. It could be because it's coming from a bottle rather than draft. If you've ever had one of these on draft somewhere, they usually do have that lovely head that lasts all the way down. Beautiful.
And I would say this is quite clear. I think what makes it harder to see out the other side is just the ridges and the
the
glasses,
ridges on
like
it.
Mine's the bit at the bottom. But like if
nice
I
clear.
put my finger up above that, it's not distorted at all.
So aroma, it should be rich, and bready with the malt character.
Yeah.
The hop note should be spicy, floral, or herbal. And it is possible for there to be a light diacetyl note. So it is common for the Czech Pilsner to have a little bit of a buttery smell to it. That is part of the style. It's also one of the things that makes people really not like it. I've heard many people be like, I don't want to drink a glass of butter. How rude. Yeah, I've been like, oh, I'm going to get a Budvar. No, I'm not drinking the butter beer. Some people get upset about it. But it is like cask beer. There is a low amount of diacetyl that may be perceived in the aroma of this beer. In flavour, we are looking for a bready malt profile that is rich and complex. It may contain an impression of caramel from the malt. It will have a pronounced but soft bitterness, but this should not be harsh. So your German Pilsner, which we'll probably do in a future episode, that's your Pilsner that's got a bit of bitterness to it. Your Czech Pilsner should be soft, which is one of the reasons why I prefer it. It will have floral and spicy notes from the hops. It'll have a long finish, which is a good balance of the malt and hops. So it shouldn't be like lots of bitterness from the hops or lots of rich character from the malt. It should be a nice balance of the two that lingers along. So it's not a complete crispy boy, because there is a bit of a linger there. And again, possible diacetyl or hop derived esters, but these should be low and are not a requirement of the style. So you might get diacetyl in the aroma, you might not get it in the body. If you do, it's okay, but it's not really a requirement. It should have a medium body and moderate to low carbonation. And overall, we're looking for complex malt flavours and a refreshing drinkability, because you want to be able to drink a lot of it. How do you think this compares to that?
I'd give it a check on all accounts.
Oh, good God.
Except maybe, I think the only thing I don't really get out of it is like the floral notes.
Yeah.
Like the floral element to it. I do get like some spiciness, but it's a little bit more like mild. For me, very heavily like malt. Like the malts are very heavy.
Yeah.
I do get that caramel. Like I can get a little bit of the caramelly aspect of it that you mentioned.
Yeah.
And I do think there's like quite a long finish on it. It's good. And I think that the carbonation level's definitely like moderate. Like I wouldn't say it's there, it's noticeable, it's quite apparent, but it's very short lived for me, in the sense of it's not like, you know how sometimes they're so carbonated that you have that dry finish and it's quite it's not like that. You have that like carbonation hit, but it's balanced out like quite well, and like you said, the flavour kind of just lingers on.
Yeah, I think going back to the hops, and we will talk about Czech hops at some point later on, it says on the bottle that this is brewed with whole cone Saaz. And we'll talk about Saaz later, but Saaz I think tends to be less floral and it's kind of more spicy, woodsy is your flavour profile from Saaz. So there you go. Going quiet while we
I think for me
have a lovely bit of it.
I think for me, could I drink this in, like this specific one, in higher quantities? Like I feel like to some level I could, but I still think that there's enough carbonation there that it's like there's still like a little bit of like gassiness there that you kind of, like I feel like I'd feel quite full up relatively quickly on it still, if you know what I mean. But also I think that I would like mine to be slightly cold. Like I feel like even though it seemed like it was a cold temperature, came out of the fridge, I mean we did chat for a bit before we started recording, maybe it got slightly less cold. So I think that maybe if this was like fresh off tap, or like it was like a slightly colder temperature as well, I'd potentially like it even more. But yeah, I can't really complain. It's a staple in the sense of like I feel like it delivers mainly at a high level, like at a high production level. It's easy to sort of get hands on production wise, and like I feel like it's no frills, straight to the point, pretty yeah, as far as that level of brewing production goes and what it is, like, I can't really complain. It delivers exactly what I think, and it's consistent. Like, every time I have it, it's consistent.
Yeah, it's definitely consistent. I mean, if you work at Budvar, you basically work for the Czech government, so that's how regulated it is. Serving temperature. If you
I guess it is. Yeah, owned by.
Yeah, if you were interested in the serving temperature of a Czech Pilsner, 4 to 7 degrees Celsius, which is 40 to 45 degrees Fahrenheit. So yeah, relatively cool.
Yeah, like I said, I think it was sat out just long enough. And then when it's in a bigger glass as well, it just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like...
And that's the thing, right, about having like big glasses of German beer. Like, I feel like they get warm before you get to the bottom. Maybe I just don't drink fast enough.
Yeah, but I think there's like part of it is I like to take it in. I like to be like, oh, and some people just go, I just want to drink it. And I think, to be fair, like, if we were at like a festival or something where this was one of the, if you were somewhere where you were drinking large quantities anyways, and this was kind of like what you were having throughout the period, like if you're at a bar or you're somewhere specific and this is what you're choosing to drink like exclusively, you probably get quicker at drinking it as well, because you're kind of like, I've taken in all the flavours and now it's just drink it. Whereas like I've had it a few times, but I kind of have it few and far between, if that makes sense. I'm not out there drinking it all the time, because it's not like I go someplace and that's what's on tap or anything like that. So
I drank a fair bit at London Craft Beer Festival last year. Like, that was one of my go-to.
They're always at the craft beer festivals. Yeah, they're always at the craft beer festival. I do have one when I'm at a craft beer festival, like when I'm at one of the festivals that I have them. But I think like I don't have it enough in a year period or something where I'm like, yeah, I could just drink this without thinking about it. I still like to take my time and go, oh, just enjoy it.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I get what you mean. Right,
cool.
Do you want
Shall we save some of this to sort of
let's save a little bit. Let's save a little bit and we can compare it to the others, because I'll be interested to see how they all stack up against each other. Should we try the next one?
Yes, let's.
I'm going to let you pronounce this one.
Cool. So, I mean, I have looked it up, but it's kind of it's telling me multiple different ways to say it, so I'm just going to go with, I looked all of this stuff up. I'm going to preempt all of it. So I look all of this stuff up now to try to get a pronunciation. I've asked numerous different sources, and there's one or two different ways to pronounce it, so I'm going to say them both and see what happens. So it's either Zichevek Brewery or Zikovek Brewery, depending on who you're... I mean, the same website told me two different pronunciations, because it said, like, if you're in the UK, you pronounce it Zichevek.
Okay.
If you're in the US, you pronounce it Zikovek.
Oh, okay.
You
Americans can't pronounce things
English
right.
speaking countries. So, yeah, well, it's interesting. I don't know. So someone can correct me if they're from this area. And
please let us know.
So, yeah, it's Zikovek or Zichevek Brewery. So just some like quite high level facts about them. So this is just their Pilsner. This is literally just...
Yeah, I don't think Pilsner. I had this one before.
I'm not even... So what I didn't actually look up how to say some of the other things on this label. So I'm not going to attempt to say that, because I didn't look at it. Because I just know it's the Czech Pilsner.
Number 12.
I was like, don't need to say the rest. Number 12, yeah. It's like
12...
orangey-ish coloured label.
I believe 12 refers to the degrees Plato that it is. So they have like that. So there'll be
shocked.
There'll be a 10 degrees, and this is like a 12 degrees, I believe, because it's Plato.
I wouldn't be shocked, because I think there's numerous breweries that have used numbers, and it tends to be the same. So we've got two different breweries that both are just have 12 on it. That's our Czech Pilsners. So, I mean, what is that? Just for anyone that doesn't know, like myself, what is that?
So Plato is another way of measuring like your original gravity when you're brewing. So like the original gravity is how much sugar is in your beer before, like in your wort, before it is fermented into beer, and then you take a final gravity reading at the end, and then there's a calculation you do that gives you the ABV. Degrees Plato is another way of measuring that. So I believe this is 12 degrees Plato. Like, so the Utopian's Czech Pilsner is called 10 degrees because it's a 10 degrees Plato beer.
Interesting. That is really that's a fun fact in and of itself. So that is good. And also it's a 500ml can. Like, you can't go wrong with 500ml can.
Lagers come in big sizes. This is what I said.
It's great. I'm really excited about this one, to be honest. We ordered it from House Trembling Madness, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they've got a few of them on there.
You can always rely on Trembling Madness to have a good selection.
Yeah.
Top tip.
So I did look at the brewery a little bit. I've got a link. We can post a link in the notes. So it's a family-owned microbrewery that started in 2012. They are currently located in Louny, which is in Czechia. Czechia. Sorry. It's located in Czechia, which was the Czech Republic. But from what I've seen, basically, they've sort of gone, we don't want to be called the Czech Republic anymore, we want to be called Czechia. And I saw an article that was basically like, if Americans and English-speaking countries can pronounce Czech Republic, they can pronounce Czechia. It was like the stance I saw. I think it was on a US article. It was, I think, like NPR or something, and it was like, why, you know, they're trying to move this name and there's concerns around people not being able to pronounce it, and the response literally was just like, if you can pronounce the Czech Republic, you can pronounce Czechia.
Do you know what? I had this conversation with, like, just let's go off on a tangent here.
Always. Always. Let's do it.
So when I worked on cruise ships,
on my bud bar.
When I worked on cruise ships, my first contract, we went to Hawaii, and when the ships went to Hawaii, they would bring on a Polynesian dance group. And so, you know, we were the other entertainment group, so we all hung out together. And, like, they would be like, hey, like, my name's Tony. And we were like, is it? And they're like, no, like, but it's easier. No. It's easier for English-speaking people to say Tony. And I was like, what's your real name? And they're like, Akoni. And I'm like, then your name is Akoni. I can learn how to say it. Like, just tell me what your name is and I'll learn it. Like, so we refused to
some degree, because I've definitely had that before as well, where people have gone like, oh, this is my name, and you go, oh, okay, cool, and they're like, well, it's not my real name. It's just like, you know, they, like, people that have emigrated over, they go, it's not my real name, but you could just call me this because it's easy. I mean, even someone, I did an interview with someone that is from Scotland, and like, originally they don't live there anymore, and their name, I won't say their name for anonymity purposes, obviously, but, like, it was a name that they basically, if you looked at it, you probably could, like, sound it out based on what it looked like. But they were like, oh, yeah, like, I sort of did the whole, like, do you have a nickname? Like, do you have any preferred pronouns? Like, all that type of stuff, just trying to sort of get to know them to make them feel comfortable. And they were like, yeah, this is my name, but you can call me this, because most people have trouble saying, like, that, you know, my full name. Yeah. And I was just like, I don't think it's that complicated.
No, I'm like, do you want to be called? What do you want to be called? Right.
No, but I did think, I was like, oh, it's just really, I was like, that's interesting. I was like, because I didn't think that was that difficult to say. And I was like, I'm sure some people do, but, like, that's the thing, if you just go, oh, sorry, can you just show me how to pronounce that?
Yeah,
and I will
tell me your name.
Pronounce it, because I'd rather call someone what they feel comfortable. But on the other side, I can empathise, because I imagine they probably go, I am so sick of correcting people or having them call me the wrong thing, that it's just easier. And actually, you know what? That's a great name. Let's just go, fuck it. Let's just call ourselves that name, because it's just so much easier than having the conversation with people that either can't be bothered to learn or just cannot get past the mental block of knowing how to say it. So I can completely see, like, both sides of that.
And like, people who have got their Starbucks name.
I'll try.
So, like, your Starbucks name, because the people in Starbucks can never.
Rick's Starbucks name is like Craig.
Right, because, like, you just, like, I was Joanna the other day, spelt like Moana, and I was like that's Moana. Not my name. Like, what? Mine's not even difficult. Like, come on.
Rick's was especially, like, interesting. The amount of, because we thought maybe, like, the first time it happened and he had Craig written on it, that it was like, that's a one-off. That's maybe, and we even had a moment where, like, did somebody named Craig order the same drink? And you just happened to get it instead? Like, that's interesting. And then it happened numerous times. And we were like, I
It's
guess
just
you're
Craig.
Craig now.
Sometimes I'm Sharon.
You're Craig now. Oh, I'm sure my mum would love that. That's
Yeah.
great. You can always
Yeah.
give your drink to my mum.
Yeah.
That's good.
I can share with your mum.
Sharon.
Sharon. Yeah.
How does Joanne?
I don't know. Sharon. Don't get it. Anyway, names. They're great.
Names. I don't even know how we got there, but that was great. I learned
People not being
new.
able to pronounce things. That's how we got there.
Yeah, I guess to be fair as well, with my mispronunciations, I'm Googling them and I'm listening to videos, but
Right.
those people could be wrong. So unless like the country comes up to me and says like, no, this is actually how I'm called, or somebody from that country tells me, because these videos as well are not, it's like,
I would like
video I watched,
Chechia
it's
to
like
come up to
somebody
you.
in another country. But the thing is, the video that I watched was someone like in another country
Right.
telling me how to pronounce a Czech name.
Another
And I was
country.
like,
Oh dear.
cool. So don't at me, at the people on YouTube that are telling me the wrong things. Anyways, yeah, Czechia. So basically, they're like, you can say Czech. That's it. You can say Czechia if you can say the Czech Republic.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're located in Louny. So yeah, they started in 2012, and they did start in the village of Zitrivec. So that is where they started before moving to Louny.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, I mean, I looked at their website, and I feel like people should check it out, because it's some interesting stuff there as well.
We'll put it in the show notes.
They mentioned that they brew. Yeah, we'll put it in the show notes. They brew around 60 types of beer a year. That's what they've got on their website. And it's interesting because look, they also had they had guest beers, they had non-alcoholic beers. They do a beer subscription. They had tasting packs, like numerous different tasting packs.
Oh,
So I feel
nice.
like some breweries miss a trick, because I feel like there are some breweries that they just either sell in single cans or just the introduction to them, which is great. Like, that's fine. But
Yeah.
what I quite liked about theirs is they were like, we have a sour pack, and we have a summer specific pack, and we have a our core range pack, and
Nice.
stuff like that. And I was obviously we can't get them because they
Yeah,
don't
'cause
ship over here, so you
We're
have
not going to ship to the
Cumbrian
UK,
Madness.
but
yeah, and it looks like they do some bottles and cans, and you know they did have like quite a good sounding selection. Like, they had a bunch of stuff that just sounded really delicious. So they had a few sours on there, which I was like, well, that's good, because I tend to find that sometimes like sour beers, as opposed to like actual like lambics and that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
what we kind of think of as sour, can feel like it doesn't make its way, like it doesn't stretch out that much farther into like mainland Europe at times, like, because sometimes that feels like that's just not something certain places do.
well,
So I wasn't sure what to expect.
I mean, you're only supposed to do lambic style if you're outside of the lambic region. To be fair,
Yeah, but I just mean like in the sense
Like
of what
just
we think of
sours
as
in
sour, like
general.
when we go
yeah,
like sours in general, not
Yeah.
like lambics and stuff like
Like
that. But I mean,
wild
like, when we think
fermented.
of like UK sours, and we're like smoothie sours,
Oh, yeah.
and you know, a peach mango sour extravaganza. I don't know, something like that. Like, I
That sounds
kind of didn't know.
delicious.
Well, I know it really does. I didn't really know what to expect of that, but like
Yeah.
they've done a few lagers, they've done a Mexican lager, they've done a
Ooh.
milkshake IPA. I'm literally looking at it. They've got a whole bunch of New England IPAs, and then like I said, they did have some sours, which were they do a hoppy dark saison, which sounds
Ugh.
amazing. They've done.
You never get dark
They've done a
saisons,
root-
and they are amazing.
It sounds amazing. Like I saw that and I was like, I want that. They've done a rhubarb and strawberry sour. So I mean like that kind of sour where it's like lighter fruit as opposed to like wild fermented, funky, like that kind of stuff. So I didn't know what to expect, and that was really cool. They've got like a whole, like I said, a whole sour tasting pack, which I thought
Nice.
was good. They got passion fruit sour. In that pack, it's a passion fruit sour, passion fruit and guava, sour raspberry, sour blackcurrant, and a rhubarb and strawberry. And I was like,
That's
they
a
all
nice
sound
selection.
amazing. And the
Yeah.
fact they did a strawberry and banana milkshake IPA is like, that sounds like really good as well. I know some people go, milkshake IPA, but that even sounded like interesting to me. They've done some wheat beers, farmhouse ale with New Zealand hops. They've got an old school white IPA, so I thought that was cool.
interesting.
Just really interesting
Yeah.
stuff, because I didn't, like I said, I went in with no expectation and was kind of like, what else do they do? Thinking it would all be like really traditional.
Yeah.
And some of these breweries that I tend to have like smaller amounts of what they actually have for sale, and it tends to be more straightforward, no frills. So yeah, found it interesting. Check it out. Not that you can get anything, but if you're in the UK,
be able to find it somewhere.
Check it out just for the FOMO. If you want to join the FOMO train.
Yeah.
Want to drink it now?
Yeah, let's drink it now. I'm now on to improper glassware because I don't have enough lager glasses.
I'm going to use my Hoppy Place tiny jug.
Nice. I'm just on to my little tasting glasses, so we shall see how this goes. Oh, I've got a better head on this one this time around.
I did a really hard pour, and that's
I've got a nice. This one's got a nice head on it. It's got a nice two and a half to 3 finger head on mine.
Yeah, mine is as well.
It's the same colour.
Is
gold.
As well. Let's do I can hold it up comparison here.
Yeah, it's nice gold.
I think it's
bit
slightly
more yellow,
lighter.
Yeah,
it's hard to tell in my lighting if you're watching the video, but I can tell it is very similar. But I would say this is going to sound really weird, but kind of towards the centre of it, it's probably the same colour as the Budvar, but kind of around the outside of it, it looks a bit lighter in colour.
It's nice and clear. It's got some little streaming bubbles.
Mine have very few bubbles and they're very slow moving, but they are there.
Oh, it's bready. A little bit of cracker.
Oh, I definitely get cracker. I wouldn't have thought that until you said that.
That's nice.
I feel like I get a little bit of caramel in mine. But...
It's clean smelling. Alright, I'm going in.
I really like the taste of that. I don't feel like that it tastes quite the same to I feel like it tastes fairly different to the Budvar, but in a way that I really, really enjoy. I almost got a bit, this is going to sound really weird, I almost got a bit of let me before I make a bold statement,
please
let me take another sip. I almost got a bit of, I don't want to say banana because that's not what I mean, but almost like that's similar to when you have a wheat beer.
Okay.
It's not banana that I'm going for, but the flavours kind of go sort of together,
the wheat flavour, that kind of grainy.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. Maybe
wheat.
That's what I'm thinking, because I'm trying to separate some of the flavours apart, and I'm like, some of these go hand in hand, so it's hard to sort of separate them, and that's just what pops into my brain first.
I feel like this has got, I don't want to say bitterness, but there's something
More
it's drier. It's more bitter than the Budvar. Than the Budvar. It's woody.
I would say it's full of mouthfeel.
Yeah.
Far less carbonated, so the carbonation for this is much lower, I feel, and it's much drier finish.
Yeah, definitely.
Doesn't linger as long.
I'm not getting any
of
the
bitterness.
I'm not getting any of the butteriness.
Not.
It's very drinkable.
I feel like I actually could probably drink higher quantities of this, because I feel like the carbonation is lower and that dryness is there.
Yeah.
And there is that bitterness.
Yeah.
I feel like it would pair better with snacks than the Budvar would.
Yeah.
And I want to keep drinking both of them really, but I feel like this sort of has that moorishness to it that I want to keep drinking it.
I think it
More
goes.
So, I think because it dries it out, that you're I need to just have another sip.
Yeah, I think it goes kind of slightly outside the rigid style guidelines because it's not got that long finish. I don't think that's in detriment to the beer itself.
No, I agree. I feel like the style got based on the sort of style guidelines that we went through. I feel like there are boxes that it ticks, but there are some things that it very clearly goes against. So that bitterness that you said, when you went, the bit maybe the bit, and I was like, no, definitely.
Yeah.
For me, I was going to say that as well. For me, definitely, there's a noticeable higher bitterness there. That I sort of was like, yeah, that's.
I think it'd get in a homebrew competition. I think it'd get marked down for that.
But I actually find that it's very.
But I like it, right? And this is the thing, right? This is the thing about beer judging and things like that. Like, there are guidelines. Brewers don't always work to guidelines. And then there's the subjective nature of beer. You might like it, another person might not. Like, we all have different taste buds. That's why beer judging is hard.
I was going to say that's probably got to be the most difficult part as well. Is like, if you make a really good beer, and like, I'm sure that they've obviously followed like processes and stuff like that, but maybe it's just kind of like how the ingredients that they use land. Because I think this one's far less bready. There's not really that caramelly note. I feel like there's a little bit I feel like there's more spiciness in this. There's more
spicy woody
and spiciness to this one. Spicy woody, yeah. I would definitely, like, I get where you're coming from with the woodiness. So I think it does actually match up with some of the stuff. It's those things that are sort of maybe characteristics of like the Saz hops that we sort of talked about earlier, that the Budvar didn't have, that it just makes it feel like it's so much different.
Yeah.
How it would rate in like guidelines world, I don't know. But that feels a bit like, that's got to be a bit of shit if you make a really good beer and then you have like you go through a judging and it's like the beer is really good. Like, how do you as a judge go, I really, really like this beer?
I mean, there is
in terms of rating,
there is.
What do you do in that situation? That's
so
really interesting to me.
There's a whole sheet. If you're doing BJCP judging, there's a whole sheet that you have to fill out. The best judges fill out that sheet fully to really give the brewer information that they can then use to improve or change or whatever. I think when I've talked to BJCP judges, like I'm not a certified BJCP judge, let's put that out there. I have judged on BJCP competitions, and then you get paired with a certified judge, blah blah blah. But those forms can go back to the brewer, and so filling those out fully with good information is very helpful to homebrewers. Not everyone does it, but they should. There are different sections, and there is a section at the end that's kind of like your overall impression, and like you can say whether it's to style, whether it's a good beer, whether it's a drinkable beer, like, because sometimes it might not be to style, but it might be a really good beer and you really enjoy it, and you can say that to the brewer, because things will get put into, like, there's, someone thinks this is a whatever beer, thinks it's a Czech Pilsner, but actually it would have probably done better in a different lager style. Like, so judges can be like, this doesn't fit into this category, you should have put it in this one, so that if you make it again you can put it into a different category. I feel like it's just interesting. It's got to be so hard, like to be
it's like, I really like this, and then you're like, but I don't think it has this, I don't think it has this, but it's so good.
And you score, so you score it on different things.
Yeah, you want to be like, don't change a thing, this is great,
right?
But also,
I've definitely put on
my rating for the style.
I've had my beer judged and like had people say, "Oh, I really enjoyed this," but like the other judges didn't. Like when I made my lemon and rosemary saison for the Three Hills brewing competition, I think I was in the top 10 finishers, but like it wouldn't, like, they didn't want to make it commercially. But I remember Andy coming up to us when we were at the Outpost, and he was like, yeah, there was like this lemon beer, and I was like, that was mine. And he was like, yeah, it was really good. The other didn't like it, but I loved it. Like, it's subjective. Beer is subjective. So, this is the thing.
I thought it was a good beer I'm fairly certain I had that, and
I liked it.
We're not bitter, but this beer is. So
yeah. Shall I tell you a little bit of history about Czech Pilsner?
Yeah, regale me while I enjoy.
Regale you while you enjoy.
Peasants, please.
So
I don't know. I felt like the word regale felt very like
just interrupting me.
I don't know. Sorry.
So we'll call most of this style here in the UK a Czech Pilsner. In the Czech Republic, in Czechia, they are only allowed to call Pilsner Urquell a Czech Pilsner because they've got the monopoly on that name.
Interesting.
Budvar's got Czech Lager on theirs, not Czech Pilsner. The official BJCP style name is actually Czech Premium Pale Lager. Fun fact for you there. And Pilsner Urquell is the original. Now, we have done a little bit on Pilsner Urquell. If you go back to our water profiles episode, we tried Pilsner Urquell next to Attic's Birmingham Pilsner because, interestingly, the water profile in Birmingham is very similar to that of Pilsen, which is where Czech Pilsner was born. So the story goes that the beer in Pilsen was terrible. And the people were very upset about it, and it was in like the 1800s. The beer was terrible, so they threw all the beer out into the street and was like, "Why are you making us drink this terrible beer?" So the local brewers decided that they needed to do something about this. They built a new brew house. They built it next to the water source, so they could use this lovely soft water that they had in Pilsen, and they employed a Bavarian brewer called Joseph Groll to come over and develop the recipe. He had like some techniques that he had found from other places and brought them with him, and he is credited as being the first person to brew the Czech Pilsner. Hang on.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like some of the research that I did, so I didn't know so much about, obviously I knew the basic history,
yeah,
but I didn't know so much about the gent from Bavaria.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that explains
they brought in a ringer.
some of the things that I saw when I was like just doing some basic research, preliminary research on my own. And I'm sure you'll probably touch upon it anyways, but like one of the things was like, yeah, there was like inspiration taken from the purity laws.
Yep, from basically. The Reinheitsgebot. So this area of the world was originally called Bohemia, and it has a brewing history that's probably as long as that of Germany and England, who have also been brewing for a long time. Originally, back in the 16th century, the Bohemian brewers were making wheat beers, and they were called white beers, and then they were making rye beers, and they were called red beers, and they were ales. So one thing about lager is that it is ale and lager are two different types of beer. Different yeasts are used. So a lager is brewed with what used to be called a bottom fermenting yeast because it ferments at a lower temperature. Ales are done with a top fermenting yeast which ferments at a higher temperature. There was another important figure in Bohemian brewing history who was called André Poupet. He was the first person to ever use a thermometer in brewing.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
there's loads of fun facts.
Loads of fun facts. I'm just dropping them all in here. Dropping in the fun fact bombs for you. He wrote the book Die Kunst des Bierbrauens, which translates to the art to brew. And he designed new malting and brewing equipment and founded the first modern brewing school in Europe. So he was a Bohemian brewer. However, the beers that they were making at that time were rubbish. That's why they ended up throwing them in the street.
Literally.
Literally got rid of them.
Go.
But part of this is because in the 1830s, lager beers from Germany were starting to creep into Bohemia from Bavaria. And people wanted that these imported beers were more popular, and so the wheat beers and the rye beers, like people were just not happy with those. And they were like, get rid of them. We need a better beer. And that's when the brewers, who at the time, the people that were licensed to brew were called burghers. Burghers.
I love
Burghers.
I love that so much.
They took the matter into their own hands. They built their new brewery. They brought over their ringer, Joseph Grohl, and he did the recipe for the first Czech Pilsner. He had perfected his knowledge while brewing in Bavaria, and he'd picked up the brewing and malting techniques from there, where they were making like lighter malts, and he used that to his advantage to create the Czech Pilsner. It's another important ingredient, however, is that it uses only Czech malts and Czech hops, in particular Saaz. It's an important hop for our Czech Pilsners because it gives it that spicy, woody, floral note. However, should we get into hops now? Should we get into hops right now? Shall I hang on to it for a little bit?
Hang on to it?
Yeah, we'll talk more about hops.
You can fill in the gaps on the very basic of what I've got.
Yeah. Saaz is important, but also we're in trouble. with
doom and gloom, like
Saaz, you're in trouble, girl. Like,
girl, no.
Yeah,
girl, no. Run.
Saaz is in trouble, but we're working on it. Don't panic.
That was ominous. That is,
yeah. That's a little overview of the history of Pilsner. They've just got really great water in Pilsen, that makes that piece. It's soft, and so it rounds out the hop bitterness that makes the beer really drinkable. And so does Birmingham, as it turns out.
Yeah, that's what I found really interesting about that. And I think, to be fair, like that's kind of the main reason why we went with like Budvar.
Because we've talked about Pilsner.
Because we've done that one already. Yeah. And
spoiler: if you haven't listened to that episode, I'll link it in the show notes. We preferred the Birmingham Pilsner to the Pilsner Urquell.
I actually genuinely
just
did.
saying.
But then part of me's also like, is it because like one was fresh on tap and one was not? I mean, I'm gonna just say that
it's possible.
They both could be equally great, and they both were good. But
we just need to go to Prague and drink it from the tank, right?
Because you know that there's so many trips I want to do.
Yeah. Just add it to the list.
I will say though, as I'm drinking this one, this Zichovec, I feel like it has evolved slightly since it's been sitting out, and I've had more sips of it as well. So since I've topped it up and had a little bit more, I do feel like I'm getting more of that maltiness that I didn't sort of get before, the breadiness that I didn't get before, and the bitterness has really mellowed. And I think like there's still that dryness, but it's less. I don't want to use the word aggressive because I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
but I think it's less overt, that dryness. It's a little bit more. It's mellowed out a bit, and it does feel a little bit more on par with that Budvar. So I think like I'm gonna take what I've said previously out, and actually I do think this actually fits in quite well.
It's good. I highly recommend it.
I really enjoy this, but I will still stand by what I said, that I think that I could drink. I think the only thing that hasn't changed is the carbonation is still much lower than the Budvar.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's like the production size and
possible. Yeah. Because if it's a much smaller brewery
and all that. Yeah. So that's kind of my thinking, or if it makes any difference of the bottle versus the can versus whatever. I think the carbonation level being lower in this one means that I can I do feel less gassy, and I feel like I could drink this so much more. But yeah, cool. Should we move on to our third one?
Let's.
Our third one.
Ta-da! Another 12.
It is another 12, yeah. Do you want to attempt to say it, or do you want me to say it?
Vinodrasky?
I was going to say, that's how I was going to say Vinohradsky.
Yeah.
Pivovar. That's
Pivovar.
how I would say it.
Pivovar, yeah.
Vinohradsky. Pivovar. I feel
Ooh.
like Pivovar has to probably mean brewery.
Yeah. I like that they've got the little, like...
Diagram, the little spiderweb diagram.
The little spiderweb diagram.
Yeah.
So they've got a little, kind of
I call
like...
that a spiderweb.
Yeah, kind of like Brew York do on theirs. It is a pentagon with aroma, bitterness, carbonation, fullness and aftertaste on it. Aroma is up to aroma the most. Aftertaste, bitterness and carbonation are probably equal. Fullness is lower. Interesting.
I'm not gonna lie. So this is how shit I am with like math. Like, so the fact that shapes are like they sit in the math category. I'm so shit at math that I was like, I don't even know what you would call this shape. And then you were like, a pentagon, and
It's
I
a
was
pentagon.
like, I was just gonna go.
It's
rhombus.
got 5 sides. No, it's got 5 sides. It's a pentagon. Pent means 5.
Oh, I don't know. Like, my brain wanted to be like, yeah, fuck it, it's a rhombus. And then I'm so bad.
Rhombus has got 4 sides.
With like geometry. Is that the one that goes like squiggle line, squiggle, like they're all? It's basically
Squiggle line.
It's basically the one that's the rectangle, but like
Bit
on
skew.
its side.
Yeah.
I mean, that's dumb. We should just call it a rectangle. But I don't make math, so it's fine.
But rectangle has right angles in it, which is why it's a rectangle.
Yeah, but we didn't. I just feel like there's things we could have done there. We didn't have to make up a whole separate thing.
I also like that this one says Czech Pilsner, Czech Premium Pale Lager on it.
Yeah, I'm quite excited to try this one actually.
Yeah. I think I've looked at this one several times and then never actually bought it. So
this is another one. So this is one.
This is the time.
They do.
This
brew,
is the hour.
They do brew in Prague and Karany, I think is how you'd say it.
Okay.
Karany. But yeah, it's in Czechia. So yeah, they've got. I think Prague has a brewery and a restaurant.
Ooh.
And Karany has a brewery and a bar.
Nice.
So they do have, like, from what I could see on their website, they do have like 2 more specific sort of like 2 dedicated breweries, which I thought was interesting. It did feel like, just comparing the websites like from one to the other, felt like this was maybe a still obviously like smaller independent brewery, but felt like it was probably bigger in scale, because like I feel like you could tell that the Zichvek was more like family owned, because they had more of like here's our story, whereas like the Vinohradsky was more, there was more focus on the beer itself that they've got and the locations that they've got, and like they did have like here's our story, but a lot of it wasn't so much as like personal in that sense, which I'm sure it just probably is more, that's just not what they've chosen as a branding for them to focus on. They did have like a meet our staff, and then what I thought was really interesting, they had like a lot of different articles. It's like how to pour the perfect Pilsner.
Ooh.
So I guess before we go into hops, before we pour this one, should I read their article on how to pour a perfect Czech lager?
Yes.
Is what it says.
Please inform us.
This was written in March of 2013 as well, so that's fairly recent. They also did a bit on their water profile as well.
Nice.
It's a really good art. Like, if you look at their blog post, they do really, really good blog posts. And their beers sound decent as well, so, like, definitely a place I'd go visit. So, proper pouring step by step. I'm going to just do the high levels, because I don't want to read it all out, because I feel like that is completely...
Go to the website and read the whole thing.
We'll link to it anyways.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to read all of it, and then they're like, what the actual F? So, clean the glass properly is the step 1. I have not, so...
Yeah, I haven't.
I haven't. So it says rinse the glass before pouring. Yeah,
I haven't done that.
I could do this. Ready?
I normally do that. Okay, wait, I have got water here. I can do this.
I've got some water.
I meant to do it. I didn't do it. I'm making a mess.
On a lower scale, I'm going to swirl it around in the glass. Let's do this. I'll do a little hand spinny scenario if you're watching the video. and then I'll dump it in another glass that I've got to the side. Because I don't really feel like chugging a bunch of water. And there we go. We've got a
rinsed
glass. Great.
Do this under a tap, people. Do as we say, not as we do.
Not as we do. Not as we do. Never do what we do. Sometimes I would argue, don't even do what we say.
No.
So, I mean, if you do as we say, it's up to you at your own risk. This one's not as we say. Do as Vinohradsky says.
Yes.
So they know. They get it. Proper pouring. So this is basically out of tap. So it does say, if it's been, I will read a little bit of it. So if it's been a few minutes since the last draft beer, tap out a small quantity of the beer. It does say to insert the faucet deep into the glass.
So now with Czech Pilsner,
it depends on who you speak to.
With Czech Pilsner, you should. With other beers, you shouldn't.
I was going to say, it's kind of that thing of do you have any more context around that? Because I feel like someone's going to hear that before what you said and they're going to go, oh no, that's absolutely what you should not do. So
with regular draft beer, the faucet should not touch the beer. There's too much chance of like contamination and bacteria getting into it and things like that. There are certain beer styles where the faucet does need to go in. Czech Pilsner is one of them because it then helps to get the foam on the top. With cask beer and a swan neck and your sparkler, that needs to be in the beer to create the head and things like that. There are certain instances, but when it is a beer and the faucet needs to be in the beer, there must be meticulous cleaning, because you're dunking that into everybody's beer and you're going to be like, if you're not cleaning those properly, wiping them down properly, cleaning them up, doing regular line cleaning and things like that, and taking apart the tap and cleaning it properly, you can end up with bacteria in people's beer, and that's just gross.
There's also a level as well of like, you don't tend to find this style or places serving this style, like when they do that, from my experience anyways, you don't tend to find that you would take the same glass up and they would use the same glass. Like, not that, I mean, that doesn't happen usually full stop anyways, but it's kind of that thing, like if you were at a beer festival and there was somebody serving this style and you have the same glass, they don't tend to go, I'll just use that again to do it. There tends to be very specific, like, no, we have a fresh, clean glass to do this, and for that very reason. So it does say to insert the faucet deep into the glass, and you'd hold the glass at a 45-degree angle. That the faucet should touch the glass. I won't explain all of it, but you want to create foam at the bottom of the glass. And then the faucet should always stay in the same position. There's a lovely video on here as well, so if you want to see what it looks like, how you do it properly from a tap, watch this video, read this article. We don't have that, so what we can do is we can crack this. We've cleaned it. I don't have a tap to put in there, so we'll just angle it at 45 degrees.
I always angle it at 45 degrees anyway.
But I just feel like we're going to say it anyway. We're going to angle it 45 degrees, and then we're going to get in there and we're going to magically create some foam with our brains. And oh yeah, there we go. There's foam there already.
So you can control the foam in your glass by the height that you pour it from. So if you are pouring...
So I did do it
it's very foamy. She's foamy. She's foamy. But if you're struggling with your foam, if you want less foam, you need to put your can or bottle closer to the glass. And if you want more foam, you need to raise it up, generally.
I mean, I wouldn't even say that. I mean, that is literally 3 fingers deep.
Yeah, I've got a good foamy head there. She's
and
not quite as
clear
as the others.
I was going to say, I have used that technique as well, of the like, I want more foam in what I'm doing, so I'm going to sort of move it up slightly. And then I have made the mistake of going slightly too high, and I'm like, it's too much, it's too much. Stop. I think this looks lovely. Look at that.
There's definitely something in suspension there, just stopping it from being 100% clear.
Yeah, because it's mostly clear.
Yeah.
But there is a little bit of shadow, like where I could see this lovely web page behind with the other beers.
Could be hops, could be
I
yeast.
can see everything clearly there. This one's not. If you look at them on the screen, you can kind of see that difference. I would say colour-wise, they are they're all very comparable colour-wise. I would say it's only very, very light differences there. Smells kind of similar to the Budvar, to be honest.
Yeah. Bready, crackery, tiny little bit floral.
I do get a little bit of the diacetyl.
Yeah.
That's definitely in there, which we have said is not a bad in this case. That is what we
normal
expect to be there. Normie. Alright, should we go in for a sip?
Ooh.
I agree, that fullness, it's very light.
Yeah.
The bitterness is fairly low. I would actually say this has over-egged the carbonation on the diagram. I don't feel like it's nearly as carbonated as I would have assumed from that diagram.
I get a lot of the bit of the butteriness in the flavour.
Same. There is a bitterness as well that lingers towards that back end. That's not there immediately, but as the taste sort of sticks around, that bitterness kind of comes out. Yeah, like,
it's not my fave.
That's the only way I could sort of describe it.
Yeah.
I don't dislike it actually, though.
Yeah, it's not my fave.
I might like it potentially more than the Budvar. To a degree.
That's fighting talk.
I don't know. Let me go back. Hold on. Let me go back to my warm Budvar and my massive glass. Oh, yeah. I don't know. That was a bold statement to make, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's not my fave. It's all right. It's not my fave. I feel like it's lacking some of the more complex character that the other two have got.
I think I enjoy it more than you do.
Yeah.
But I do agree that it feels like there's something that's missing from this flavour, but I can't put my finger on what it is that is missing. But I would say it's pretty no frills, but I still think it's pretty good. I feel like, again, the carbonation is fairly low, so it's not leaving me feeling gassy or anything like that. Like, I don't feel bloated. When I say gassy, I mean like in a bloated sense of like filling up really quick, and it doesn't do that. I feel like it would pair really well with a snack as well. All of these would pair really well with a snack. I feel like lagers are
your snacking beers.
Snack beer.
Yeah, definitely.
They really are. I think I need to I need to just sip it more casually. Cool. Shall we go into hops?
Yeah, let's go into hops. Right. SARS.
Before I let you take it away and talk about all the hop stuff, what I did think was interesting.
Yeah.
So it's not so much talking about. I do have notes, but I'm actually going to let you go because you probably have so much more than what I'm sure everything that you've covered is everything I've written down. But I will say what I thought was interesting as well was you mentioned about the Bavarian brewer and all that, and so as I was looking up sort of the main hop that I could see that was mentioned in it, which was Zateki Polorani Chervenyik, which that's really hard to say. So that was coming up, and that's basically in the Saz hop family. It's also known as the Saz semi-early red hop variety. And I thought, like, okay, that's interesting, because I was like, oh, what is? I've never heard of that. Never heard of that. I was like googling it, and it was like, oh yeah, it's basically a Saz variety, and I was like, cool. And as I started kind of digging into it, and like, okay, is this just like a translation for that? I saw that basically where this hop is from, which is Zatek, that is the German name for Zatek is Saz. So I was like, I remember sort of like looking into that and going, that's really interesting, because what came up was like Zatek, the town that's located in the northwest part of the, well, I guess if we want to call it the Czech Republic, or we want to call it Czechia, it's located in the northwest part, and it's basically known within UNESCO
Yeah.
as the hops town. So I thought that was... I've got a link for that we can share for that as well, which I found really fascinating. And as I was digging into it, it was like, oh yeah, Saaz is basically the German name for that. And I kind of couldn't... I was like, that's really interesting. Like, how did that happen? And then when you were like, oh yeah, they got a brewer from Bavaria, I was like, I feel like there's a lot of things that I Googled prior to having this episode that I was like, that all makes a lot of sense now. But anyways, I feel like you are more well versed on this. Take it away, go.
So, if you're talking about Czech hops, you're usually talking about Saaz. Saaz is what they call a landrace hop. That means it's like one of the originals. It's not been crossbred with things. It was one of the first hops that we found growing, and we decided to chuck it in beer. We being the collective noun for people. It's a very traditional hop. It is the hop that is used in Czech Pilsners. A lot of lager brewers will use Saaz. And it has been grown in Bohemia since 1843. And it was introduced to the region by a monk from Bavaria whose name was Antonin Horak. So there you go. Because it is an original hop, it's also a noble hop, if you've heard that term before, which is, a selection of hops that have particular characteristics and are used in these types of beers. Because it's an old hop, it is used to growing in certain climates. It is not happy with climate change. If you're a climate change denier, go and have a chat with Saaz, because Saaz is telling you through its growth rates that climate change is happening. Like, it is not doing well. Its roots aren't growing, and last year the yield was down by 30%, which is a lot. In fact, someone the other day said that they'd updated that, and it was like maybe down by 50%. Like, Saaz is in trouble, which is going to be a blow for breweries that use a lot of that in lagers. Now, that's okay. Don't panic. Those Saaz,
a lot of doom and gloom.
I'm the harbinger of doom here. Like, sorry, harbinger of doom here. However, hop breeding programs are finding ways to breed hops that are similar to Saaz, will do the same job, but are more resilient to changing climates, to diseases and things like that. There are if you've not heard of these hop development programs, there's one in Germany, in Urquell. There's one here in the UK. Y College do a lot of development. There's experimental farms that John I. Haas run in the US. Yakima Chief will have their ones as well. Hop growers are finding ways to get around this, but breweries have got to be open to starting to use a little bit of some different hops to try them out, start to kind of balance out the usage, so that when we come to a point, because it's going to happen, where Saaz might well die out because there isn't a way of developing it to make it better now without changing it from being Saaz. Other hops are going to have to be used. So if you're a big fan of Saaz, I've had this conversation with a couple of people who are just like, I love Saaz in beer, and I'm like, enjoy it while you can. I am the harbinger of doom, and it is in trouble. So keep your eye out for hops that can take its place, and breweries to start using those in there. One that is being looked at to be a replacement for Saaz is Tango. I believe you had a beer from
Goose Island.
From Goose Island that
Goose
used
Island
Tango.
Very kindly sent me a beer to try quite a while ago that had Tango, and that was I think we've talked about it on here before. It was an experimental hop at the time that they the whole reason it came about was because of the climate change. They were trying to find something that was more resilient with climate change. So yeah, that's interesting that is potentially a replacement.
Tango
for that.
is a possible replacement for Saaz, so keep an eye out for
I tried
that.
it in was a pale ale, so it's hard for me to think that there's
so
a mindset
this
there
is the
that
thing,
is
right?
a potential replacement, because it was in something that was so drastically different to these Czech pils that we're having right now. And
a SARS hop should have, like, it should be pleasantly spicy, a little bit herbal, bit woodsy, bit earthy, bit floral. Those are the kind of things that you're looking for. There are other Czech hops though. I've got a couple for you that you might have heard of. Kazbek is a Czech hop that was released in 2008. It's named after the highest peak within the middle of the Caucasus mountain range. That one has an aroma profile of citrus, earthy and spicy. So a little of that citrus does kind of come in. I think it's because of the other hops that it ends up being crossed, like the ones that it's bred from. I don't have... Do I have it? Oh, yeah. No, wait. I do have where Kazbek came from. It is a hybridization between the Boar variety and Wild Russian hops.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's a dual-purpose hop. Genetically, it belongs to a group of high alpha cultivars originating from the hop Brewer's Gold, which is genetically similar to the Czech variety Angus. They're all a big old family of hops.
It does kind of feel a bit though like the citrus element just feels like it's just, when you enjoying these Czech pils, it kind of feels like a citrus element to that flavour would just throw off the balance of some of what's in here. And
the
it just
citrus
wouldn't feel right with some of this malty breadiness.
Yeah, the citrus tends to be in the aroma, I think. So if you used it earlier on in the brewing process, that's going to get boiled off maybe. Don't quote me on that.
Fair.
That's a possibility. The Kazbek is often compared to SARS, but it's much stronger, so it has earned the nickname Super SARS. That's Kazbek for you.
Super SARS, I like that. That's a fun name. Super SARS.
Yeah.
Makes me
Super
think
SARS.
of a Peep Show, the Super Hans. Super SARS.
Yeah. And specifically, the citrus note is of lemon or grapefruit. But that doesn't obscure.
Just feels like if I were to smell that, I wouldn't expect it. I feel like that would already throw me off the vibes.
I'd like to do a
for if I wanted a Czech pils, I feel like that would just completely throw me off, and I'd be like already in a mindset where I'd be like, oh, I don't know.
Well, if you use it late in the boil,
I'd be willing to try it. But
if you use it late in the boil, and if you use it for dry hopping, then you're going to get that citrus, lemon and grapefruit note. But it says that never obscures the quintessential mixture of floral and earthy spice from its SARS parent. So it's in addition to those.
I'd be interested to try it.
Yeah. And then another hop I noticed on the back of our Vino Hodrasky that they used SARS and Sladek. So Sladek's profile is gingerbread, watermelon, cognac, orange and nettle. I can't say I'm getting any of those, but maybe the nettle.
I just think that all those flavours sound really nice though.
Yeah.
In a beer. I'm not suggesting that I'm
right.
Czech Pilsner, that's, some of that is what I want, but just in a beer, full stop.
Yeah, gingerbread's your thing, right?
I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate any of that. Having all of that in a bit, cognac, it just sounds really nice and interesting. I feel like you could make some really interesting things with it. Czech pils, I don't know if that's gonna work for me there, but I feel like other varieties that could be really interesting to play around with.
Yeah, this one, Sladek was introduced in the 1980s, I believe. It is appreciated for its balanced aroma profile and bitterness, and it is named after the Czech word for brewer. There you go.
That's a fun fact. I like that.
Yeah.
I feel like we're just pulling little fun facts out.
Bringing the little fun facts out. So that's the Czech hops that I know. Did you have any more?
I think it'd be really interesting. No, I only had those ones. I think it would be really interesting to kind of see what happens there and the doom and gloom of it and all of that. sort of into consideration and aside. I think it'd be interesting because, as I kind of mentioned at the start, how like when I was doing my independent research from all the stuff you already had, it's kind of like, oh yeah, this sort of the Czech Pils, in some ways, how they decided to do it was based off the purity laws, and there's lots of like that German influence there.
Yeah,
and
using local ingredients.
Like, German side of things, it's very, you know, localized and everything. And I think obviously with those hops, you can still keep it localized, but how that changes the taste overall to what we know at the moment as a Czech Pils, that will be really interesting to see how that evolves. And like, will we in 5 years time, 10 years time, whatever, will they update the guidelines for Czech Pils? Will they have
they'd have
to make, like, how will it work? Will they go, well, we're like, can you retire a style guideline? Will they have to call it something else?
Well, they do. They update them every 5 years.
Decide that that's not what they want.
Like,
but then I guess in the sense of like, will they say in the past it used to be this, but now it's this? Yeah.
So when you go and look at the BJCP style guidelines, there's like a little bit of history, a little bit of background, things like that. Like I can't remember which one it was, but they did the 2021 update in December 2021. They updated all of the style guidelines. It was supposed to be done in 2020, but they didn't because it's every 5 years. So the previous iteration was 2015. They then updated it in December 2021. And there were a couple of styles that shifted around categories. Some classic, like where it lists like beers that are a prime example of that style. A couple of those got knocked off of places. Like some of the changes were slight, but when you go in there and look, you're like, oh wait, like I think it was one of the brown ales got knocked off of its classic designation. Geez. Right. Things get switched up because beer evolves. It's a live product. It's something that changes.
Situation thing, isn't it? Yeah.
Palates change, ingredients change, likes and dislikes change. Like, you know, New England IPAs, NEPAs have only been around since 2010s.
And they're also probably one of the most popular to hate.
Right.
Just because I feel like people enjoy hating on them. It's fine. I can take it. But yeah, no, I just think it'll be really interesting to see how that changes and evolves, and if in, you know, like I said, in 10 years time, if we're talking to like the babies in the craft world in 10 years from now, are we going to be like, back in my day, a Czech Pilsner tastes like this? They're like, I love the citrusy notes of a Czech Pilsner. It's my favourite thing. And we're like, back in my day, Czech Pilsners didn't have citrus in it. Are we going to be like the cranky old people that are like, why can't beer just taste like beer? Why can't a Czech Pilsner just taste like a Czech Pilsner? And then we look at the updated style guidelines and it's like, is fruity.
No.
Citrus notes.
Wrong.
Like, no, this is not what it should taste like. I wonder if maybe some of those people that are like, why can't beer just taste like beer? Those people are like, I remember back in the day when this is what an IPA was like and a pale ale. And so I mean, one to watch. Shall we move on to our last and final so we can wrap things up? Because this will be a fun. This will just be a little fun one.
So the ones we've done so far have been traditional, brewed in Czech Republic. Now we got a little UK offering for you. We got 3 Locks Camden Town Lager, which is I
will say as well, it doesn't say specifically, like it's labelled as a lager across the board in all aspects of it. It's just everywhere you go it says lager. But the reason that we sort of picked this one was the story. I mean, when we found Camden, we found the 3 Locks brewing company. We just happened to stumble across them, which we can talk about in a minute if we really want to. We happened to stumble across them, and then we were like, oh, we should get something to like have on the podcast. That'd be really good. And then we got this lager, and I was like looking at it, and I was like, oh, actually, so it says lager everywhere.
Yep.
Didn't specify a specific type, but then I was like, Sars hops, and it says Czech inspired. So you know what? We'll just see how it stacks up with the Czech Pilsner.
Yeah. So this is what actually inspired the Czech Lager episode.
It actually is.
Thanks, 3 Locks.
We could just do a whole Czech Pilsner. And they were like, literally. So we were basically, we've probably talked about it before, so we'll just very recap in case you haven't. In case you're listening for educational purposes, which I'm sure you got some education out of it and some crap that we've spouted out of it, whatever. That's what we're here for. Welcome to us. So we were like literally in Camden before the whole day we were going to do something. Yep. We started in Camden and we were going from the we were having food in the market area, and we were like, we're going to go to Werewolf before we head off and we depart from Camden because
be
we
rude
love
not
Werewolf,
to.
big love to Rich. Yeah, we were like, need to go see Rich. Rich wasn't even in that day. We
Rude.
were like, oh boo. He was like, it's the one day that I'm doing something else, and we were like, boo, but we're still gonna go.
Fine, we'll drink your beer instead.
I was like, are you still open though? And he was like, yes. And I was like, okay, we're still gonna go. So we decided to make our way to Werewolf, and where we were coming from versus the route we were taking. I love Amy Winehouse, but she was the bane of my existence that day, because everybody, the graffiti, the statue, everything, people were like, I think it started, we tried to leave the market and everyone was crowded around the statue. We're like, we just want to get out, please.
Yeah, we just want it to go.
We just wanted to go. And we like had to fight through people trying to take photos with the statue. And we're like, tourists. And we're tourists, but we're like, London.
We're not that kind of tourist.
We're like, we're not here for that kind of tourism. We're here for beer tourism. So then we go barreling out. We finally make our way through, barge our way past the Amy Winehouse people, and then there's like a big mural of Amy Winehouse that more people are taking photos in front of, and it's just like, it's like, I love Camden, but it is just so, on weekends especially, it's just
because this was a Saturday,
just chaos. It was a Saturday, and it's like, normally I do not go to Camden on a Saturday. If I'm going, it's for a gig, and it's normally like a weeknight or something like that. So we were going through and we were like, I was like, I'm not going to that crowd. Let's find a back road. And I was like, I know that these roads go along sort of the lock, so like we can go along this canal area, we can get out, and it's fine. We can get to where we need to be. Let's just like pick one of these roads to go down. And then we just started walking down. We're like, oh, we could go this way, we could go left, we could go right. I was like, oh, let's go to the right. And we start walking down, and in the distance, I think I said it first, in the distance I went,
you literally did,
I spy a sign that says tap room.
Yeah, she was like, that says tap room.
I was like, Joe, it says tap room, it says tap room. And she was like, that does say tap room. And I was like, what is this? And then we started like approaching it, and we were like, I've never heard of this brewery before. It's a tap room. Let's go in. And then they had like really, really good, like really interesting stuff. Like they had the
strawberry lace sour was so good.
I'm actually mad that we didn't
porter
buy
was
one
good.
to take with us.
Yeah, we should have
All
done
of it I thought was really good. The music was effing banging.
Yeah,
I feel like
music was banging.
Everything was like old school hip hop. We had like Big Willie style on it one moment, and then the next minute was something complete. It was like rock.
Yeah.
I think I was basically doing karaoke at one point.
Bit of Brit
I had one guy singing with me.
Yeah.
I was like, yes. I think was it Oasis that I started singing? Some guy was singing with me, and I was like, yes, we got this.
It was good. It was good.
The staff was so like beyond lovely. I think we intended to stop in for one drink, and then I was like, we could just stay longer though. And then we were like, let's get another round.
Beer time.
It was great. So we wanted to be able to take their beer away and have it on an episode, just because the experience was great, the beer we had was great, and so we're just going to see how similar it is to a Czech Pilsner.
So here we are, Camden Town Lager from
If you're
Three
in Camden,
Locks. Go and find it, like
going.
Their tap room. What do they call it? Their beer hall. It was nice.
Yeah, they had like the tap room, which there was like a big, where we stood next to the bar, there was like a window that went into the actual brewery, like the actual brewing floor. But then they had around the corner, which I didn't go into, but I think you went into, because the bathroom, there was another.
I only went to the toilet there. Because the queue for the toilet in where the bar was ridiculous.
They only had one in the tap room, quote unquote. But they had a beer hall that was around the corner that you went into. Was that like, I don't know what it was.
I think the beer hall's upstairs, because I only saw the toilets. So
I only saw the toilets.
That's all I needed.
Were they good? How would you rate them?
Yeah, they were alright. I mean, there was more than one, which is always a good thing.
I mean, if you're going to toilet somewhere, you need to know what you're getting into. It's a generous head on this one.
It's got a generous head. Three Fingers. It's quite a light yellow.
I think it's a lighter colour, but I would say it's probably comparable in terms of like opaqueness to the Vinohradsky.
Yes.
Like it's mostly clear, but there is just a slight haze to it.
Yeah, something suspended in there.
Beautiful bright white head though.
It smells nice.
Oh, it does have
like a bit of a lemony note.
So there's a little bit lemony, and it does almost have that slightly diacetyl aroma to it, but not in an unpleasant way by any means. And I would say almost like a slight bit of potential spiciness to that.
Yeah.
It's not as malty bready.
No.
In the
bit
aroma.
more crackery doughy.
Lighter. I would just say overall, like, if I had to describe it, just like lighter feels like the right way to describe it. Right, sips. Wow, I really enjoy that.
That's nice.
That's really easy drinking.
It's very, like, light is the word.
Very light, for me, very light, low carbonation, thinner mouthfeel, but not by no means is that like a detriment. It feels like it fits in really well with the flavours. There's a very bready, the maltiness, like I feel like the breadiness is just...
It's bready
there.
And a bit kind of cereally, maybe oaty.
Oaty cereal, I would definitely agree with. I really enjoy it. Very low carbonation.
Considering that one of the tasting notes for a Czech Pilsner is that there should be like at the end you've got that hop and malt balance. This definitely showcases that. Like you're getting that there's malt, there's a little bit of that spicy kind of woodsy hop at the end there. It's nice. It's very drinkable. You could definitely sit and have a couple of these while you're sat in the sun by the locks.
This
in
is
Camden.
a very, like, 100%. This is very, like, I feel like light, like, bright, sunny, warm weather beer. And I feel like this is one, for sure, that you can drink in quantity because it doesn't feel like you're going to get too bloated, gassy, whatever. Like, it is very, quite smooth, light, drinkable. I don't even think, like, the bitterness, this is probably the lowest bitterness out of all of them, potentially.
I would say so.
Yeah, I think that the aroma does have that, like, I feel like that spicy quality to the aroma. I really enjoy this. I kind of wish we got... I think my biggest regret is not getting more of their beers.
It just means we've got to go back.
Getting more of their beers and being like, do you want to talk to us on a podcast? Because...
I did say that to you. You were like, no, let's just go.
To be fair, though, we were because we also were like, we're trying not to buy, because we always
we were trying not to buy.
When we go, we buy too much stuff. We start off going, we're not going to buy that much, we'll buy one at every place. And then what happens is we go, oh, but they've got this and this and that. Oh, get a few things.
And then we have to carry
really
it.
hard, and then we have to carry it around London and then home on the trains.
Yes.
So we were very like, we are going to get one thing
at
each of the places is the goal. And that is what we did.
Yeah.
But my biggest regret is not getting the strawberry lace sour.
Yeah, because it was really good.
Chef's kiss. Great.
Yeah.
And they are like, they just had really good vibes when we were there. So good music, good vibes, good people from our very limited exposure of the one or two people that we interacted with. It was a very positive experience.
Can recommend.
I would definitely try more of their stuff.
And can recommend this lager.
Definitely check them out.
Yeah.
If you like lagers and you liked... I would even say that, actually. Yeah, I feel like there may be some minor differences between the other... I mean, there's some very clear differences between the other Czech Pils, but I feel like overall, if you like a Czech Pils, you might like this, actually.
It stacks up.
Pretty good. Stacks up fairly well. Cool. Well, that's that. Gonna go drink the rest of it now, actually. Don't have any more fun things to tell you. I think the only other fun fact that I got, which I deleted because I couldn't find any more fun facts, you've whipped out all the fun facts today.
I have.
So I tried looking for fun facts and it's all literally like, here's historical things. So I was like, Joe's already doing all that.
I did.
Can't do that.
I did.
The only other thing I saw was, and I don't know how old this stat is, it was that the Czech Republic was the biggest beer drinkers per capita.
Yes, I've seen that. As I think that's true. Yeah.
But I don't know if that's if that's changed in the last few years.
Yeah.
But I've seen that fact come up a few times over the last few years. So I just don't know if they've been knocked out. But they were the biggest beer consumers per square capita, and beer is very fundamental to a lot of their social gatherings, their festivals, their daily life, like their socializing in general. It is apparently, I can't say because I've not been there, I don't know, but I'm just what I see, that beer is a big part of their culture and their society in that sense, and that apparently they are the biggest consumers per square capita.
Yeah. Everyone thinks it's going to be like the US or China, but it's actually Czech Republic.
Yeah, normally when that comes up in a pub quiz, you're sort of like, I know now that that's the answer. Because I know it because I have answered it on a pub quiz before. But yeah, I think like your instinct is to go, the US.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, it's not.
Incorrect.
It's not actually.
Incorrect. Right. We got beers to drink. So I think we should draw this lesson to a close. I hope, listeners, that you've learnt a little bit about Czech Pilsner. If you've not had a Czech Pilsner before, I hope that you go and try one. Let us know. Yeah, let us know if you do.
Check out the beers. Check out the breweries.
Yeah, check them out. Tell us what you think. Come and let us know. Let us know what other lager styles you want us to do lager lessons about. We've got some already in the pipeline, but let us know which ones you want to hear, because we want to create what you want to listen to. Tori, if people want to tell you,
I can only milk the Czech pun for this episode. So,
she can. Yeah, this is the only one.
I've just used as much as I can, and the next one you're going to have to figure out what I'm going to milk next.
Tori, if people want to suggest next lager lessons to you, where can they get hold of you?
I'm probably the wrong one to suggest lessons to. It's
probably
you that they want to suggest lessons to. If you want to talk about puns with me, because I'm probably more the person you want to talk to puns about. Joe's the one you want to talk to about the educational stuff. You can come give me some good Czech puns. Check your skills. Check out my Instagram. You can find me on Instagram at adventures_in_optimism. I'm just going to say that because it links back to everything else, and I've been so busy with everything that I barely even keep up with that sometimes. But I do read your messages. I just don't always do public posts. But hopefully that will change soon. So we'll see.
Have you?
We'll find out. You've got to check it out to find out.
Have you put up any more Will It slushies?
I have some, that I just haven't edited them. So we'll see. My sister's actually surprising. Like, I've got messages from my sister, like, messaging me going, but will it slushy, though? And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, like, it's infiltrated. It was a joke that, like, literally now, I have gotten so many messages about will it slushy, and I think that's the funniest thing, is I was like, it's a joke, and people are going, but will it slushy, though? And I was like, I don't know, let's find the fuck out. That's great. So you can send me your ideas of what you want me to slushy, send it to me on Instagram, and that'll be great. Because I will try them. Even if I don't post it, I'll still try it, just for fun. So that's me. If you want to suggest episodes, you want to send them to Joe. Joe, where can people send them to you?
If you want to get hold of me to suggest episodes, or you want to ask me some beer questions, you can get hold of me at my beer school, which is Love Beer Learning, and we are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok and Pinterest. I'm mostly on Instagram. If you want to come find me. We're not on Threads yet. We haven't done that yet. That seems scary, so I'm not going to do that. No, I haven't got the brain capacity for that, so don't even talk to us about that. If you want to come and see if you can get hold of both of us, depending on who's available, you can find us on Instagram at A Woman's Brew, and you can also find us on YouTube under A Woman's Brew podcast. You can watch this, so that'll be fun as well. I think that's it. That's all the places we are, isn't it? Oh, you can come to my website, which is lovebeerlearning.co.uk. There is some information about Czech Pilsner on there. Go and check it out. Or you can email me.
Check it out.
Oh, I did it without even realising.
You didn't even realise you did it. Oh, victory for me.
You can email me and sympathise with me over that terribleness that just happened at lovebeerlearning@gmail.com. Okay, I'm going to go drink these beers now.
Time for bed and to drink some
yes, it definitely is. Cheers.
beer. Cheers.